Hi again. This is Ralph Bohm, legislative update. I was hoping to have a guest host tonight with Erica Leon, but unfortunately at the last minute, her husband's working late and she couldn't get a babysitter, and those with kids know how that works. So anyway, I'll have to wing this on my own. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to cover today is we got two bills, HB 220, which passed last year but establishes a committee, and then HB 255, which we'll cover then. And also I want to cover redistricting and how that is going to affect us. Now, HB 220 is a bill that passed last year, and there it is. Basically, it says every person has a natural, essential, and inherent right to body integrity, free from any threat or compulsion by government to accept an immunization. Accordingly, no person may be compelled to receive an immunization for COVID-19 in order to secure, receive, or access any public facility. Now, this is law now. It passed last year. So, I mean, if those that want to read the whole thing, HB 220, and you can go online and take a look at it. The website's changed a little bit, but you should be able to go through it. Now, one of the things in that committee, what it did is established a committee. And Erica was on that committee, so that's why I was hoping she'd be here, but she's not. But anyway, whoops, wrong one. But one of the things that came out from that was, if I can find it, is out of that committee, the committee formed by HB 220 was charged with making recommendations about interaction with federal and state policies regarding medical interventions. The thing is that the committee didn't really do too much because they realized that there are at least 30 bills coming up next year, starting in January, about the same topic: mandates, vaccines, COVID, and masks. And so it was unnecessary to request a committee to come up with another bill. There's going to be 30 of them. So, and that's going to be a problem. We got 700 some bills for next year. In education, which I'm in, we have 80 bills. And like most bills, probably 75 to 80% of them will be killed. I mean, we're trying to make, because no way the Senate wants 750 bills. Because that's what if they pass, then they got to go to the Senate. The thing is, also, then we went to HB 255. Now, HB 255, we completely did what they called a non-germane amendment. So that means we had to have a hearing on it. And 255 was, wait a minute. So this was the amendment to 255. And again, it was about the mandates. And so this bill is going to be voted on in January. Wednesday, the first week in January, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week. And it says, no entity in New Hampshire shall compel receipt of a COVID-19 vaccine by any individual who objects to such vaccinations for any reason of personal conscience, religious belief, or for medical reasons, including prior recovery from COVID-19. So nobody can mandate that in order to work, you have to have a vaccine. Now, this is against Biden's mandates, which courts have already ruled are illegal. Recent court rulings have put a temporary stay on those mandates, but hopefully, it looks like one of the problems is the mandate had some of the judges ruled because it sort of came in as an OSHA requirement, saying if you have more than 100 employees, they all have to be vaccinated. And then they said, that's no different than us saying that you have to wear a helmet. Wait a minute, even if you have less than 100 employees, you have to wear a helmet in those cases. So that's one of the problems the court said. No, if you can't, it can't be a safety thing if it's not for everybody. So anyway, and does the federal government have that authority to do it? So we had a hearing last Wednesday, and, well, November 18th, anyway. We had a big hearing. It was actually in the Reps Hall, because we're going to have a lot of people. And there, as you can see, I mean, I was running the chair for a while, playing God, anyway. And there's the Education Committee down here, and I'm sitting, and then the people. There's two cameras here. You can see the two white things, cameras, and they're pointing to where we have microphones for people to speak. So there were 5 hours of testimony, which is one of the longest hearings. Less than 1 hour of testimony from people that were against the bill. 4 hours of testimony was by people that were for the bill, okay, for this amendment. And they included doctors and nurses and a lot of people. Mainly the people that were against it were lobbyists. They were being paid to be there. None of the other people were being paid to be there. They were all for the bill, in other words, against the mandates. So, and a lot gave good testimony on the vaccine, which we said, no, that's not, it's about the mandate, it's not about the vaccine. So it got unruly there for a while. If you can go online and go to multimedia and see this whole thing, and actually somebody from Litchfield did testify for the amendment. People that signed in that didn't speak, there were 110 people that signed that they were for the amendment and only 10 against. So it was a good turnout. Like I said, there was some people yelling, but they probably wouldn't have yelled if they knew most of us were on their side. But things get contentious. So I had to yell quiet a couple of times, and people arguing, and it had some some of these things do get somewhat contentious. So that was pretty good. I mean, we covered a lot in that 255. The bill was going, like I said, we'll go to the floor in early January to see how it's going to be voted on. It came out of the committee as 11-8, 19 members on the committee for it. I could say bipartisan because one person voted. But anyway, those 11-8 came out of the committee. So it'll be on the floor, and it'll be argued on the floor. So hopefully it'll pass. Then it's got to go to the Senate. And hopefully by then, maybe we won't need it. Maybe the courts will rule that the mandates coming from the federal government aren't legal. So anyway, I mean, as for vaccinations, I've been vaccinated. I've got all of them, but there are reasons people can't have them or won't have them or get sick, know they'll get sick from previous cases of getting it. So, I mean, and there are cases of, and does the vaccination really help? A good example is the Omicron virus now. I mean, it's already in Australia, and Australia won't let anybody in the country unless they've been vaccinated. So even if you're vaccinated, it doesn't help. I know people here in Litchfield that have fully vaccinated that also got COVID after the vaccination. So does it help? It doesn't. Luckily, I have it. I'm not going to say anything because that maybe I will. But I go to the gym. I'm exercise. I'm fairly healthy for an old man. But yeah, I mean, I'm vaccinated. I encourage people to get vaccinated. Donald Trump even says, let's get vaccinated. So, but we don't need somebody telling us to do it. And that's one of the problems. The first thing kids learn is the word no. And I think that's in the human, in humanity. I mean, they grow up. You're not going to tell me to do that. First time somebody said, you have to do this, what do? No, I don't. I mean, so, and I think somebody made the comment about Puerto Rico where they didn't have the vaccine mandates. But just like highest percentage in this country, people have been vaccinated because nobody told them they had to. I mean, I think sometime when somebody says you have to do this, people automatically put a stop and find reasons not to. So I think it'd be a whole lot better off you telling why you should and let the people make their own decisions, just like in anything else. So with that, I mean, you can go look at the whole video if you want. And what I can do is we can close these out. And I'll just do a quickie because it's been a while since we looked at the website, and it's changed a bit. And I think for the worse. But once you get used to something and somebody changes anything, it's... So, nh.gov, and go to government, state legislature, and you see they changed all that. It looks silly. You can still say, find a bill like HB 220. You can type it in here. Okay, and then if I go to, if I can find it now, if I go to House, Home, and there's a thing here, multimedia. Okay, and you want to go to House Archived. No, that's not the one I want. Sorry. No. Anyway, whoops. Need to go back. Multimedia, House Archive, YouTube. These are all YouTube videos now, so they're a whole lot easier to work with. Like I took that snapshot of the picture. And if you go to Education Public Hearing 11/16/21, and click on it. And you got YouTube video coming up, and this mess. Come on, YouTube. I have it for free. Why do I want to try something? So let's see. Now you can see here's volume, but here's somebody speaking over here because that microphone, and we're just switching back and forth. We call two people at the same time, and then they can come and speak. So that's how you go look at the multimedia and listen to it. Oh well. Anyway, I won't try to play it, but you can do it at home and look at other things. Also, all of our House hearings, education hearings and whatnot, will be streamed. In other words, you can. So if we're having some bill coming up, you can find out what bills are coming up by looking in the calendar, and see what bills are going to be in the Education Committee or any other committee that you're concerned with, and you can go and watch it. You can't zoom in like last year or anything. It's just for watching. So it's going to be all streamed. So just like that was, and so live streaming. Okay, one of the problems we have this year is we sort of halved the number of conference rooms we have for hearings because they had to double them up. So for distancing purposes, so there's going to have long hearing days. So hopefully in the same room, so we all know how it's set up. And but we're talking like 9 to 5, at least 3 days a week for education. Some of the other committees don't have that many bills. And it was interesting. We had a chair leadership meeting the other day, and they were talking about how to do this. And one of the chairs of one of the small committees was recommending how to do things, and we're all looking. Yeah, if I had only had 20 bills, I'd be able to do that too. But anyway, shut up. So anyway, we don't look at that. Now, redistricting, that's coming up. And what that is every 10 years, the U.S. Census does their thing, and they come up with, let me pull it up. They come up with the population. And so the following year, the state's got to go through and redistrict accordingly to the population. Towns change and all that, and districts change. So one of the things we do have is redistricting and what's been done. Let me find it. I did have it pulled up, but bear with me. Okay. So there it is, if you want to pull that up. In 2010, New Hampshire had 1,316,470 people. In 2020, we went up a little bit, 1,377,529. Now, for state reps, there are 400 state reps. The New Hampshire Constitution says we could have 375 to 400. Okay, what they tried, well, 375 would actually work better, but everybody would know we got to keep the 400. So we divide the total by 400, and we now get one rep for every 3,444 people. Last year, well, 3,291, so it went up a little bit. And the way the New Hampshire Constitution works, that we amended in 2006, I believe, any town that has that number gets a rep. And if you have multiples of that number, you get the multiple reps. So for example, Litchfield population went from 8,271 people to 8,478 in 2020. Dividing 8,478 by 3,444 means that Litchfield should have 2.46 reps. So in other words, that's pretty much what we had last time. So we have our two. So I have 2 full reps. Now, if Erica was going to be here, so I was going to hit Derry's population. They went up a little also, but they're going to keep their 10 reps. Now, where does Litchfield get a half rep? Now, for the past 10 years, we got them from 2 wards in Manchester, which also needed partial reps. So we had 2 reps in Manchester, 1 from Ward 8 and 1 from Ward 9. Now, if you look at Manchester, Ward 8 is what borders Litchfield. It goes from the river to, it's got the mall, it's got the airport, and it goes over to Mammoth Road. So that's Ward 8. Ward 9 is right above that, right before you get to 293 if you're going up Brown Ave. And that goes from the river, now that's further, because the river turns, it goes over to South Willow Street. So now, but that changed. And I don't know why they did that, considering Ross Berry, who was on the redistricting committee, is one of our Manchester reps. He pretty much drew this all out. But anyway. So now we're going to have 2, we're going to share 2 reps with Hudson, which probably makes better sense because we have more in common with Hudson than we have in Manchester. And I don't know why they didn't do 7, 2, and 1, but anyway. So Litchfield, we have our 2. Hudson has 6, and 2 shared between Hudson and Litchfield. So a total of 10 reps. Last 10 years, Pelham and Hudson shared 11 reps. Okay, but now it's Pelham's going to have 4 of their own, and 6, I guess you could say 7 in Hudson and 3 in Litchfield. I mean, it'd be nice if Hudson let us have one of those 2 floterios, but anyway. But all this has to be voted on in January. So that's how the state's going to, Litchfield is going to look. So that shouldn't change either way, because there's two plans out, the majority plan and the minority plan, and they both have us the same for our town. Some of the others are a little different. Now, one of the things now for congressional districts, which we have to be concerned about, that gets a little hairier, you might say, because that oops, wrong picture again. Where is it? That should do it. Okay. There's the congressional district map. Okay. The blue is CD1. I mean CD2, excuse me. And that really hasn't changed that much. I mean, my argument has always been, why is CD2? I have to campaign if I'm running for Congress all the way from the Canadian border to the Massachusetts border, and from Maine to Vermont. While CD1, which is the dark blue, I'm pretty much in the center of the state. Now that's changed a bit. One thing to me, to the good. In the past few years, I mean the last 10 years, or even 20, here we have, I blow that up, here we have Litchfield. Litchfield was in CD2 last term. Now most people don't really know what's congressional district in, but it does make a little bit more sense. One of the problems with last 10 years, or 20 years even, Merrimack, Londonderry, Manchester were in CD1, and here we're in Litchfield in CD2. So I remember at election day, people going, hey, I didn't see what's his name on the menu. No, that's a CD1 candidate. Yeah, because you can't not help see all the signs in Manchester and Londonderry. So now we're in CD1. Also, what puts us in CD1, which I find is very good, it's sort of a common area, a community interest, because not only is Litchfield got put in CD1, so did Hudson, Pelham, Wyndham, and Salem. I mean, I always looked at Derry was always in CD1, and so did Londonderry. So, and Manchester was in CD1. So, to me, all those towns, Salem, Wyndham, Pelham, Derry, I mean, that's our community. I mean, when I was umpiring girls softball, I did all those towns. I mean, they're a like community. So, what they changed, though, was they took these towns on the seacoast that were in CD2 and put them in CD1, which is more of a common interest. The college towns here, so there's somewhat more of a community interest. So if you look at the whole state, there are all the towns in CD1. You can go down and look. Also, if you look at this map, and if you blow it up, it tells the population in each of the towns. Now, if I go up north, which is interesting, all these towns up here. Whoops. You can see some of these towns don't have anybody living in them at all. I mean, Irving's, no, 0 people. Second College, Dix Grant. I mean, Dixville's got 4 people. I mean, so you still got a campaign there. I mean, Errol 29. But this, when I did a motorcycle ride this summer, I didn't know some of these towns list, because here, for example, we have Berlin, and then Milan, and then we have a town called Dummer. 306 people. Now, there actually is a rep from that town. This is a floterial type town. There are a bunch of those towns together because, they don't have the 3,460, so they got to be added together. So, to make the rep, and one of the reps is from Dummer, and he said that, his wife introduces him, and here's the Dummer rep. So, I don't know, is it a town you really want to be in? So, anyway, but so you can look, and so if I blow up all these towns, like Bedford, 23,000 people, Londonderry, 25,000, Litchfield, 8,478, Hudson, 25,000. It used to be a big argument, who's bigger, Londonderry, Hudson, and Merrimack, and you can see they still stay about the same size. Derry is a whole lot bigger. So Litchfield, for example, if you add the two together, Litchfield and Hudson, population-wide, is close to Derry. and we have 10 reps. So that works out good. Okay, so that's the redistricting. You can go online again and look that all up. Again, this is all going to be voted on in January, and then it's got to go to the Senate, and then the governor's got to sign it. So we're looking maybe March before these are all set in stone, which makes it a problem for people campaigning. Where am I campaigning? You know, at least in the congressional districts. Senate, no problem. That's the whole state. But so at least I think it helps us out. We know everybody. I mean, you know, to me, I would have liked them. Why don't they just take a ruler and go down the middle of the state, you know, like that, and then add it up, you know, at least make it somewhat distance equal. But anyway, so I think that'll work out good. So you can go online and look at that, look at the differences. Also, yeah, now it makes it good because I have a little bit more time than I thought. And I'm also on CTE committee, Career Tech Education. You know, like at Alvern, they have a CTE, which Campbell's kids go to, Career Technical. And one of the things we were looking at initially was transportation, because nobody's getting enough of transportation. Initially, it came out for Manchester. Manchester West High School got to go across the river through Manchester to go to where Manchester Memorial is for their CTE. That's a longer distance and time distance than from somebody from Campbell going to Alvern. But since they're in the same school district, they don't get mileage. So that wasn't fair. So we fixed that. And then we also fixed, getting more mileage. And also, one of the big problems that came about that we were working on is school calendars. And that seemed to be a big issue. For example, the sending schools. We're in what they call District 16, and again, we can't figure out who made up these CTE districts, because District 16 includes CTEs in Hudson, Nashua, and Milford. They're all in District 16. So we can send our kids from Campbell to, depending on what course, to any of those three, and we have. One of the problems is school calendars. One of the big issues is we don't all start school at the same time. Now, when I was on the school board, I had made the policy that we'd set our calendar to Alvern's calendar, to Hudson's calendar. We aligned them, but they're not doing that anymore, and it hurts the kids. So we're looking at maybe come up with some regulation, law saying you have to at least be within X number of days that your calendar has to sync. One of the things, or Merrimack High School does a great thing, which is really good. Even though they start after Labor Day this year, and the CTE started before Labor Day, but Merrimack said, hey, we're starting the CTE when it starts at Alvern. So they had buses and everything ready. Even though the school wasn't open, CTE was open. So, and then Merrimack also had and even if there's a special thing going on in Merrimack, you're still gonna go to the CTE. You signed up for it, you're going to it. It's not really, works good if you're going to a class at the CTE for something and you miss one, you're really messing up the whole class. Yeah. So, and this past week, Wednesday, the committee was invited to go to the Salem High School CTE, which was great. And we went at 11 o'clock so they can provide lunch for us from the culinary, see how that worked. And what they're doing there is actually providing the culinary school there actually makes food for weekends for kids to take home. The kids that maybe won't eat that much on weekends. So that works out good. It's a great CTE there, and nice if we can get another invite maybe to Alvern. And one of the things, like I said, we're working on, let's sync those calendars up. So we have a bill that's going to be voted on and try to get mainly to sync the calendars, spend more for transportation, so more kids can go, and the schools get the right amount for education, for transportation, because they're not now. So with that, I think that should wrap it up, and hopefully, come January, you'll be seeing more of me and others. So with that, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hanukkah's got a couple more days, so good evening.